How you doing? How you doing? And how you doing, ladies and gentlemen? It's your boy Patty, and I appreciate you stopping by today. And what we're going to try and do in this video is essentially break down how I think you guys should be, like what your daily routine should almost be. Like if you're, logging in to farm a certain amount and everything instead of just like, oh, I want to go exploring today. Like this is going to be kind of, how to... I don't want to say how to farm because that's like the most super generic thing and everything. But like this is kind of what your daily grind should look like. This is one of the best ways to kind of optimize how much resources you're getting, which resources you are getting. And some of this stuff will change a little bit when 1.1 drops, especially with all the quality of life stuff that we're getting there. So we'll see. But let's go ahead and start our adventure. You've just logged into the game. You're sitting right here. Maybe wondering why there's a large patch of already burned ground. No idea. I'm gonna just blame the ghost of Klee. Anyways, one of the first things that you should do when you're logging in is essentially immediately try to burn just a little bit of resin. Reason being that when you first log in, you're gonna be at 120, and if you decide that, okay, I'm gonna go cook some stuff, or I'm gonna go gather some resources, or I'm gonna do my commissions, those are all great and super beneficial things for you to be doing for your account. But if you're sitting at max resin, that's a problem. That's a no-no. So with the resin system probably being one of the most haggard things in the game right now, even after 1.1 with us having 160 cap and being able to create the condensed resins, we're still going to have an issue with the resource management with them. Like that's just going to be a thing that we grind against until we see some more robust solutions to the resin system right now in its current state. So first thing that you should be doing is burning a little bit of resin. And where you want to be doing that kind of depends on where you're at. And who you have and the conditions of your game. So like if you're under AR 30 or 25, I'm not going to say that it doesn't matter what you do, but what you probably want to be focusing on at that point is going to be character Ascension Materials. So this little one over here would probably be really great to farm. This is going to help you level up a lot of your weapons and everything. Some people require, stuff out of here and everything, but essentially I would recommend you guys go for things that are going to ascend your characters or the weapons that your character's using if you're, below AR 30, because you can't even really get into any of the talent dungeons at that point. So I would focus character materials over things like, artifacts, or, just straight grinding Mora, which sometimes you might need to do. But anyways, first thing that you want to do is, basically real quick, just spend a little bit of that resin on something that's going to help your account move forward in terms of your character progression and everything. So that's absolutely number one. If you're under those ARs. If you're over AR 30, what you should probably be looking at instead is starting to farm your artifacts. Not your artifacts. Petty did not say that. Your talent Ascension Materials. So these are pretty important. Talents, the first couple, okay, you're getting like a 15, maybe 20% damage increase on a couple of skills. That adds up very, very quickly. And they max out at 8, I want to say, before some of the constellations can come into play. But the thing that you want to basically understand with this, so just on the book side, we're leaving the common Ascension Materials out entirely. So those are like the Hilichurl scrolls and everything like that, the Forbidden Scrolls, I think. But just on the book side alone, and this is gonna sound not too bad in the first one, and then get progressively woof-er. So just book-wise, you're going to need 3 of the 2-star green books, 21 of the 3-star blue books, and then 10 of the epic books to take just one talent and level it up to 8. then you're still going to have three other skills that you can level up the talents for. So for each individual character, if you wanted to max out all of their talents, which you probably shouldn't, but we'll make a whole other video about how to prioritize those. It's kind of character specific, but anyways, you really are going to need a lot of these books. So while you might be super tempted to just get some of the best sets that you can that become available around AR 30 and above, you're gonna want to hold off, because the amount that you need for these is a lot. And until you're above AR 40, 45, the gear that you're going to be getting is not going to be super worth your time. And as long as you have just the weeest little bitest of RNG luck on your side, you're not going to have a very hard time getting through all the content, at least up to AR 30, 35. Then it might start getting a little bit realer, and you might want to have a few pieces of artifacts that you've put a little bit of work into and leveled up to like plus 12 or something like that. Basically stick to your adventure book on that one. If you don't have an adventure book things telling you like, oh, level up this artifact to this, don't take it above 4. Don't do that to your resources. So outside of that, you really want to be sticking to these character ascension stuff. So say you've listened to me beat that dead horse and have gone, okay, so first thing I'm going to do, spend real quick 20 resin, knock out one of these domains, and then what are we doing, Patty? So now that you've spent a little bit of resin, go ahead and go around and start doing your commissions. Now, while you're doing your commissions, you want to keep some stuff in mind, and this is largely going to be for people that have purchased the Battle Pass, because the value that you get out of it is great. It might not seem very impressive, but you get 2.5 million more. You get 2.5 million experience worth of books and everything, and then a ton of these enhancement ores, which are very difficult to craft in game. The amount of ores that you have to farm for it is insane, and not super viable at the moment. So definitely don't log in to just farm ores. For the explicit reason of doing these. It's gonna hurt. It's gonna hurt really bad. But while you're doing it, you want to keep an eye out for being able to complete as much of your battle pass stuff while you're doing commissions as possible. So obviously one of them is just doing your 4 daily commissions. You'll get some of that. Really, mining is what you want to keep an eye out for while you're running around and doing those 4. If you can complete it, awesome. If you can at least get half of them or so, even better. That's really the baseline goal for that. And then also, you want to keep in mind your weeklies. So your weeklies, if you're not paying attention to them, it can be kind of daunting to complete some of them. And, you get a whole bunch of experience for doing it. So you don't want to miss these, because you can really go up quickly in Battle Pass level if you're staying on top of it. I'm not able to play a whole crazy much because I work a full-time job and then try and run a channel and then somewhat of a life outside of that. So I was not able to complete this Battle Pass, but many people that actually were able to put in hours a day on the game completed the Battle Pass like 2 weeks ago. So I am not a great sample for that size. But a lot of these things are pretty easy to do when you're actively being mindful of them. So in each of the zones, you can collect 100 of the local specialties. So that means the region-specific stuff. So like certain flowers, core lapis, stuff of that nature all counts towards local specialties. If you're in the Wolfendom, the wolf hook berries, stuff like that. Things that while you're doing your commissions are going to be in any given area that you're going to be doing a commission. It's good to grab any shiny sparkly thing that you can see, because that'll help you get these done in a really realistic fashion. Unless you were the kind of person that, likes to wait until the last minute and then spend 4 hours running around just picking up a bunch of stuff to try and knock these out. Totally a viable thing. You could do that if you wanted to. Not necessarily what I'm going to recommend, but hey, it is totally possible to do it that way. And then elite opponents really won't come into this too much because these are essentially the bosses in the world that you have to spend resin to be able to get loot from. So like the murder cubes, stuff like that. It's not just like if you go around and you're farming the ruin guards and everything like that. They're not going to count towards elite opponents. They're still on that same boss tab, but you're not having to spend resin to collect the rewards from them like you do with like the murder cubes and all that fun stuff. So that's what that's going to. If your commissions happen to send you near one of those, and it's therefore a character that you're actually working on and you need the Ascension materials from the corresponding murder box, then it's you could fit that in there. And it's not that big of an issue. And then outside of that, the rest of this you'll kind of just naturally get. Again, when you're mining and you're doing a little bit of that every day, you'll be able to craft some of the 1-star or 2-star enhancement gems, the white and the green ones. And that's the best way to get your Forge 20 items, is just make some of those. You should have plenty of resource to make the little derpy ones. Do not recommend trying to craft the blue ones unless you were just sweaty and over AR 45. And then again, collecting the local specialties will give you more stuff to be able to cook dishes. Woo! So good stuff to keep in mind. Not really anything in the period side that you want to keep track of. So okay. You've continued to listen to Petty. You are an absolute angel, a soldier, if you will, and I appreciate you. What are you doing after that? So you've knocked out your commissions. At this point, you should have gotten a little bit of your resin back. Nothing absolutely crazy. But the next best thing would probably, for most people, depending on the amount of playtime you're able to do, be to start going through this. And how you want to do that kind of falls into the same discussion that we were having of how should you best spend that first 20. If you're under AR rank 30, materials. So you would potentially, depending on who you're working on and what stuff that they need to level up, and just so everybody knows, you don't have to get a character to the max level to know what the Ascension requirements are going to be. If you go to the level up screen and click on our little buddy over here, this will tell you exactly what you're going to need for the next rank. You are going to need certain things a lot. Like these mushrooms, we're going to have a whole spiel about these mushrooms in a minute. But depending on what your core team is, and I do recommend that you keep a relatively small team of people that you're building. Don't be like us content creators and have to build all kinds of characters for videos and just spend every resource that you have just building something else now. It's a thing. Please pity me. God, I hope they give us rewards soon for being content creators. I just need a little bit. Just a little bit. But we're back to that conversation of, you want to be getting materials together and everything and using your resin wisely to be able to build out your characters faster. So stick with these, keep an eye on them. Obviously, they go in a rotation. There's some available every day, and it changes each day what they are. Specifically, something that I didn't really touch on with the books is the way the books are broken up. If you're curious on who gets what book, it's by area. So there's 3 types of book for Mondstadt characters, and then characters that are from Leeway have 3 books of their own. You farm the books here for Leeway, and then you farm the books over here for the Mondstadt people. So between those, the character stuff, or weapon Ascension materials, that is going to be your best bet if you are under AR. Really, if you're under AR 40. But as you get higher up, the talents are going to start mattering a little bit more and are going to be a little bit more difficult to complete with the amount of resin that we're given. Um, so as soon as you get these available, wouldn't be bad to split up a little bit. You know, maybe do 1 or 2 runs of of your books, and then go for some of your character ascension materials and everything. Excuse me. One of the issues with trying to do a live-ish kind of show is, yeah, your body will just rebel on you. Damn thing, I'ma get you. But after you've done all that and you're now saying, okay, Patty, well, I've spent all of my resin, so now it is time to just log off the game, correctly? Like, there's just nothing else that you can do without resin. No. No, 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 no. So, one of the most important things that you can be farming in this entire game is your common ascension materials. And you might be going, Patty, which ones are our common ascension materials? I will give you some examples once I'm done being terrible. Sealed scroll. I was wrong on forbidden earlier. Things like this, a lot of the stuff that some of the just normal people that you fight in game can drop. Oops, yeah, that's definitely what I meant to hit. If we go to, should be this tab. So stuff like our arrowheads, our slime condensate, all of these things are considered to be your common ascension materials, essentially. And they're going to be used all in a lot of places. So where we've got very specific things for like leveling up talents in the books or leveling up weapons, these are not like those. These are used everywhere, so they're a resource that is needed on a much larger scale than all of those individual niche ones. And some of the best ways to farm those is using your handy dandy little book here to go around and start hunting bosses. So you can see here which ones that these guys have a chance to drop, and they can drop some artifacts too. So that's probably one of the safer ways to get some decent artifacts without having to spend your resin on them. There's also an entire artifact farming guide where there's a map. It shows you a bunch of ways that you can run and everything. If you investigate certain things that reset every 24 hours, you can get little items out of them, and a lot of times they're not going to be great. They're going to be good for you to have to be able to level up your artifacts. So I'll put a link in the description for that. But all these materials are needed for a lot of things, but there's a few that you won't see in here. So like you don't see Forbidden Scroll on any of these guys. You might be like, oh, well, how am I supposed to get those, the spirit heads, and all that other fun stuff? Well, keep in mind what units typically spawn with some of these bigger monsters and everything. There's a small chance the Citizen Mage might have some other things around it, but they're usually by themselves. Mages have an okay chance of there being some other things around them. Our wooden shield boys or big axe boys that you can hunt, these guys always have other hilly churls around them. Like, just about always, always, always. So this is actually one of my favorite things to go through and farm, because not only am I going to be getting the stuff that he drops, but I'm going to be getting all the things that the hilly churls themselves have a chance to drop, like the sealed scrolls. There's also a decent chance for mages to be around, so you can get the resources off them. It's a great, great thing that you need to do that you might not realize you need until you really get up there and you'll start going through them like, oh my god, I need like 300 of these sealed scrolls just this week for the 2 people I'm working on. So you might want to go around and farm some of those things, bully some of that stuff. might be a good time for you. And really, after that point, what I would say is probably going to be the best use of your time is there are a lot of pathing guides out there, or routes. They're really commonly referred to as routes and everything. And there are some great farming routes for everything from mining stuff to getting artifacts. And there's even some for running into the highest densities of some of those boss monsters that we were just talking about before from the book that you can track. So I really, really recommend that you guys look up a couple of those for things that you're interested in. The artifact one, I highly, highly recommend, and I'll even link that one below. Just because the amount that it takes to level up your artifacts is so dramatic and so needed. And the artifacts that you have coming in later in the game isn't at the highest density amount. So it's little things like that in those paths can be really, really, really impactful. And that's at any AR, really. After you've done everything else, it doesn't matter what AR you are. You're basically just farming the world at that point. So I highly recommend you look into some of those and find some that feel really rewarding to you, that you enjoy doing and aren't too monotonous. So yeah, that should kind of do it. You should be out of resin and have played for 2 to 3 hours at that point doing all that stuff. I think that's all I got for you, champ. Thank you so much for stopping by today. Thank you so much to all the new faces that have been showing up and supporting the channel. I really appreciate you guys. And yeah, you're going to have to catch your boy in the next one because we're out of here. Deuces.